us on the Tuesday edition of Journalists Hangout. I am Kemi Foladiemo. Today on the program, court orders military to produce soldiers who aided kidnap kingpin Wadume's escape. Plus, Court of Appeal vacates order suspending Adams Oshomole as APC national chairman. Later on the show, Borno State seeks strategic partnership with ex-military generals and others to tackle insurgency. Today, I'll be hanging out with Wale Adeoye and Emeka Madunagu. Good evening, gentlemen. I hope you're doing just fine today.
Thank you very much.
Right. Also, Babajide Kolade Otitoju will be joining us from Abuja. Good evening, BKO. How are you doing today? We will join Babajide Kolade Otitoju, of course, to give us his take now on the critical issues we'll be discussing today. So if you're ready, Journalists Hangout starts now. The wheel of justice has begun to grind in the case of the killing of officers of the police IRT team and escape of kidnapped kingpin Hamisu Bala, who is popularly called Wadume. Of course, his arrest occurred in Ibi, Taraba State on the 5th of August 2019. The criminal prosecution of the 20 suspects for 16-count charge of terrorism, murder, kidnapping and illegal arms running is ongoing at the Federal High Court in Abuja. But some clocks remain to be addressed, as the 10 army officers implicated in the matter are yet to appear in court. At the trial on Monday, Justice Binta Nyako ordered military authorities to release the rogue officers for prosecution. So they are yet to be produced, or they are to be produced on March the 30th for arraignment. So this is our first topic, and let me bring in, I'll start with you, Emeka. Talking about those clogs that need to be addressed now in this fresh trial that has now been instituted, what's going on in your mind?
No, I remember I was on Journalist Hangout on the day Wadume was arrested, and when the news broke, and we rejoiced at his arrest, and we believe that the trial will commence quickly, and of course because there are different ends to the trial, but we believe that definitely the trial will move smoothly and that all the authorities concerned would cooperate. But I'm surprised that the Nigerian army has delayed in releasing his officers, because it's unlike the Nigerian army, it's unusual. If you remember the case of a soldier, I don't remember his rank now, who allegedly shot a motorcyclist dead in Abia State sometime last year. I mean, the military, the army high command promptly handed him over to the police for prosecution. But of course, there have been also some cases where, I mean, if you remember a video that went viral some months ago of some cadets who, held up traffic somewhere in Lagos and were insulting motorists and all of that. And the army authorities said they would look into it, but we've not heard anything about it. And then there have been cases of, misconduct by military personnel, but, nothing was really heard about it, apart from the initial, okay, we will look into it, but nothing was heard about it. And
even when these cases were in court already? If
you even remember, this case was so embarrassing. The army and the police were just exchanging press statements, were just exchanging insults, exchanging accusations. And there seemed to be a deliberate attempt by the military high command, the high command of the Nigerian army, to paper over this issue. Let me not say cover it, but but to paper over it, to make it look like, it's just some chickens that were killed. And Nigerians insisted that you can't do that, because these are people, the officers who were killed, highly professional, highly trained. These are people who put their lives on the risk. And I felt too that the police had a share in the blame, because how can you send people out on such a dangerous assignment as arresting kidnappers, bandits, and all kinds of high-profile criminals, and then you send them out in buses that are not bulletproof, that are not armor-plated? You couldn't even send a helicopter to pick a high-profile suspect like Wadume. Right. I believe a helicopter should have even provided air cover to the team
till Wadume was safely in custody. But when you look at it, you even find out that there were even police personnel who are alleged to have connived with those soldiers, you know, and aided them. Yes, exposed the movement of the IRT officers.
Well, it's rather legitimate that you're also reawakening, you know, the outcry that ensued in the aftermath of Wadume's escape last year. Wale Adeoye, how does that sit with you, with all the condemnations that, you know, trailed that rather nasty episode? Do you think that this trial, by the time it kicks off fully, bringing in these 10 officers on board now to answer for the alleged crimes, do you think this trial will perhaps reveal all the, you know, questions that Nigerians had been asking since that period?
I think the case of Wadume was one of the major breakthroughs in terms of arresting a high-profile gang, you know, a network of criminals led by Wadume. And it caught the attention of local international community. Everybody was so glad that, you know, they trailed him, you know, and then pick him up. And suddenly, when they were taking him to the police headquarters, the intelligence response team, you know, then they were attacked. And then they set him off, removed his handcuff, and allowed him to escape. And this thing happened about 6 months ago, August 6, 2019. Now, the police wrote to the Chief of Army Staff, that was in January, asking the military to release, you know, the police, the soldiers. It's not as if we don't know them. They were led by one captain, Tigani Balarabi. So they are not unknown soldiers. But it took the police to go to the court to compel the Chief of Staff to release these men. So we begin to wonder that, you know, what kind of country are we running? Because these guys, they have established cases of kidnapping, banditry, armed robbery, terrorism, and gun running, you know, and then this man was allowed to escape. In fact, there was a video where Wadume was talking how he escaped. You know, he said the soldiers removed his handcuff. You know, 3 soldiers were killed, 2 civilians were also killed, then 5 policemen were wounded. So it was a bloody encounter. But eventually, only 1 person was unhurt, and the soldiers, Wadume, and he was allowed to escape. So now we are talking about 6 months later, and we are still begging the army to release, you know, these suspects. It tells you that there's a ring of a criminal ring that has collaborators, you know, with the security establishment, because there's no basis why this case, the trial should not have started.
And now,
it's an embarrassing.
And now it has started, but now we are having a key element now of this trial absent. We'll wait and see what will happen on the 30th of March when arraignment is scheduled to take place fully. Let's connect with Babajide Kolade Otitoju now. Now, what do you think, BKO? So 10 officers are absent. They've been ordered to show up. Of course, the judge went on to say, the boss of the army now should make sure these men are brought to court for the arraignment.
Yes, I think at this stage, the Chief of Army Staff does not have any choice. So much damage is being done to the image of the army by deliberately not releasing these officers. I really don't know what the army stands to gain, because this is a military institution with a cherished history that Nigerians respect so much. And no one, no matter how highly placed, should damage the credibility and the good name that the Nigerian army has been identified with for so many years. There is no group where you are not likely to find a bad egg. But groups make progress when they identify bad eggs within their ranks and they let them go. So a situation in which the army, the defense ministry began an investigation ordered by the Chief of Defense Staff. The investigation went on and on and on without us getting any report. The question I want to ask the Nigerian Army and the Chief of Defense Staff is, how long will it take for them to come up with the report of their own investigation? Maybe you do not agree with the report of the police investigation, but let us see your own. Let's see your own now. What are your findings? When I complained then that the report, that the investigation by the defense headquarters was taking so long, some of my friends in the military said, no, it still has to be investigated by the army. It could go to court if the army does not investigate him. Okay, you have the whole feed. Let us have the report of your own investigation. If your investigation cleared him, show enough guts by letting Nigerians know the outcome of your own investigation. As long as we do not see any report after all of these months from the army indicating whether Captain Balarabe or others were innocent, and they are not countermanding the police reports in any way, they are just keeping quiet, honestly, this matter will not die.
Let me put you on hold.
Families of the dead, they will continue to complain. The press will continue to talk. So they are not even helping, Balarabe.
That's true.
They are not helping him. He will remain a wanted person. There has to be a closure to this matter. And the closure to this matter will come when the Nigerian army behaves in the right way.
All right, Bikio, let me put you on hold now, and let's get some more out of this raging issue. Okay, so BKO has also raised a very vital point, talking about this army report now that isn't out, that may give us some more information as to what happened in August of 2019. So now this trial is not going to happen. It's not going to be a court-martial, Emeka. It's not also going to be hidden. It's going to be in open court now, an open trial, unless
the army requests.
They request for that. But talking about this issue of a report, is it likely that this report will, be made material or be material now in this trial? Or are you also having some questions in your mind now as to maybe information being revealed, further information being revealed in court sooner or later?
According to court procedures, it all depends on the prosecution. I mean, if the prosecution says the report should be tendered, that it will aid the progress of the case, well, the defense headquarters will have no choice but to tender the report. But I want to believe that because of the way, the length of time it took and all the, dilly-dallying it took the military, to run the course of that assignment, I doubt if they want to bring out any reports, because this is clear, barefaced murder. I mean, this is a barefaced affront on the state, on the Nigerian state. I mean, there's no justification for security agents to ambush their colleagues who had an alleged criminal, high-profile criminal, in their custody, and then you kill these people. What for? Are you now trying to say that people who are in legitimate service of the Nigerian state should not
be allowed to do their job, to do their duties, and that this case will just go like that, I think the judge should insist. The judge should insist that those soldiers have to be produced. I'm even surprised that the military will still leave such people, the army will still leave such people in its service, in active service, till this moment. And what does that tell you? If you remember the case of the Shiites, you know, when their enclave was invaded in 2015, December 2015, if you run through the proceedings of the Commission of Inquiry, which Governor Nasir El-Rufai set up, one of the recommendations was that the officers who were involved in that invasion should be prosecuted. Till date, nothing has been done. There have been different instances where soldiers invaded communities in different parts of the country, and the people demanded for justice. Up to today, nothing has been done. Why should we allow such a situation to reign in our country? This is not a lawless system. But unfortunately, we find that people who ought to actually help this nation to maintain a respectable image internationally are the ones actually dragging the nation down. The international community is watching. It tells a lot about what kind of democracy we're practicing. If security officers can be killed so willfully by fellow security officers, and the military, the authorities, the high command of the Nigerian Army that ought to bring them to, that ought to present them to the court, is dilly-dallying, is wasting time, you know, in such a way that raises more suspicion that there could be attempts at a cover-up.
All right. Well, Emeka, let us also get some more information now, some more insight now from Babajide Kolaje Otitoju in Abuja, of course, now. Looking at this whole drama now, some have also asked why, if it were just a simple matter of, you know, bringing in these 10 men on board now to answer for their alleged crimes, why the dilly-dallying indeed?
Well, it's just demonstration of sheer arrogance on the part of the army. And there is no arm of the security of our country that is bigger than the Nigerian state. The army is a creation of the law. Therefore, the army is not above the law. The army is not bigger than the Nigerian state. No individual is bigger than the Nigerian state. No group of persons is bigger than the Nigerian state. And this is not a contest for supremacy between the police and the army. This is an issue that has a lot to do with justice. If you are a member of the family of the deceased, you will know how painful it is to lose a loved one. It is even more painful when you lose a loved one who was struggling to help us to achieve a better society, who was struggling to help us to exterminate criminals. Wadume collected more than 120 million from a single victim and still went ahead and killed the victim. That was why it became so important for the IRT to go after him. Now the people who went after him, Nigerian heroes, have been murdered in cold blood. Yet some people think that people will keep quiet. It won't happen. People will continue to talk about this matter until those guys are handed over. So present your report. Let us see your report. Let's begin to debate from there. If you are not convinced that these guys were guilty, okay, provide the evidence, provide the reports. Let's put it side by side. Let's bounce it against the report that the police have come up with. But to simply keep quiet and imagine that Nigerians will forget after some time, it's not going to happen. The internet never forgets. All of the people who said nasty things in the past, people are going back. In fact, we know some of them who are even President Buhari supporters today, who abused him in the past. People are showing those videos. Are showing those videos to tell you that the world has changed. The internet, the greatest invention by man after electricity, has ensured that people are no longer as forgetful as they used to be. So this is the thing. Produce these guys. Don't bring down the image of a whole fighting force because of a few individuals. Produce them. That's what Nigerians want.
All right.
Even the policemen who are going to be put on trial now, they were not involved in any way in the killing. They were only accessories after the fact. Yes. Because their friends in the army invited them to assist them to cover up the crime that had happened. Yet they've been put on trial by the police, dismissed, and about to be arraigned in court. Yet the army chooses not to do anything, believing that after a while we will stop talking about it. That will not happen now.
All right, VKO.
That will not happen.
Very well said. Let me get your take, Wale Adeoye, on this subject. Now, crucial points are picked now, from what has been said thus far. The issue of, okay, could the trail now be cold? Or if you present this evidence now, looking at the months that have, passed, how weighty will this evidence be? And of course, the issue of, we cannot ignore the fact that this case is even being prosecuted for the federal government by the police, by the Inspector General of Police. So at the end of this day now, what questions would you like to be further answered? How will it also enhance the interrelationship between our security agencies?
Well, the Army headquarters set up what they call Joint Investigative Panel, which involved DSS, police, and at that time, some of us felt it was a diversion. It was supposed to help the police investigation. It didn't necessarily mean that the police investigation was dependent on it. The police did a very good, extensive, very intelligent, investigation on this point. Because 13 days after that incident, Wadume was arrested in Kano. So the police did a very good work. Now, on the issue of the investigative panel that the Army set up, if that investigative panel favors, does not favor the Army, they will not release it. But if it favors truth, they will not release it. So for keeping this, this report is a further indictment on the Army. It shows that perhaps that report has complicated a lot of issues. It has, revealed a situation where a lot of people in the Army are connected with this criminal. If not, I see no reason why they should not have released that report. So I now see a situation where there will be great suspicion, that the justice system is not being assisted by the Nigerian Army. There's no justice for the slain 3 policemen, or the people that were killed, no justice for the society whose norms and values have been violated, and no justice even for Wadume.
And with this kind of stance now, this fear has already been established. Now, how independent will the judiciary be? How independent will the court of justice in Yako be?
I think the judge has done a good job, because it's an open court. So there is a limit to which they can subvert truth. So he has given order that they should produce these soldiers who are from 93 Battalion. So what we expect the Army authorities to do is to produce these men, and then the prosecution will go on. But as it is, I think the police is doing a good job, and we are all waiting to see the result, of this investigation.
All right, gentlemen. That said, we will continue to monitor the situation, and we will no doubt come back here to discuss it further. But still to come on the program today, Court of Appeal in Abuja vacates order suspending Adams Oshiomhole as national chairman of the APC. Stay with us. You're watching Journalist Hangout on TVC. Well, a ray of hope has finally appeared in the quest to resolve the crisis rocking the ruling All Progressives Congress, that's the APC, after a timely intervention by President Muhammadu Buhari, leading to the shift of the contentious National Executive Council meeting. The Court of Appeal in Abuja has now vacated an order of the FCT High Court suspending Adams Oshiomhole as the national chairman of the APC. The three-man panel of the appellate court, led by Justice Abubakar Yahaya, also restrained the police and the Department of State Service from further giving effect to the suspension order. Let's hear from Adams Oshiomhole now.
My takeaway from today's judgment is that as a democratic organization, we must do everything possible to make peace within the party, to listen to those who are aggrieved, and also to be honest in managing divergent views. That way, I believe APC in the end will be stronger for it.
Adams Oshiomhole there reacting to the Court of Appeal's decision yesterday. And of course, the story also went on with reports today that Adams Oshiomhole was allowed into the APC Secretariat. He also chaired the very, very powerful committee meeting. Well, let me begin now. Okay, those are the pictures there earlier in the day with Mr. Adams Oshiomhole there, leading the party. But then so many issues have been raised, and now this development. PKO, what do you make of this? Recall that the justice that delivered the decision yesterday also said that there has to be a time when parties will learn to amicably settle their disputes internally and not resort to the courts for settlement.
Yes. Let me start by saying yesterday I made the point that Adams Oshiomhole won one and lost one. What I meant at that time was that the court was not prepared to hear his matter, and he would have loved the matter to be dispensed with same day. But President Buhari stopped the NEC meeting, which gave him a kind of breather. So I described it as 1-1 at that time. But before we finished the program, we got feelers that the court had decided to sit. And the court sat and eventually vacated the order of the inferior court that suspended Adams Oshiomhole. It was a good thing for the judge to speak the truth to politicians. Every little thing, they shamelessly run to the courts. They cannot resolve little disputes among themselves. When they are defeated in elections, they refuse to accept defeat. They still run to the courts. You won't accept election results. You won't manage disputes amongst yourselves. You want the court to do everything for you. A time will come when politicians will invite judges to come and minister to their wives for them. We must not get to that point that every matter must be resolved by courts. The dispute resolution mechanisms of our parties must be worked upon. And that's why that was the first challenge that I think Oshiomhole has. Oshiomhole, as chairman of the APC, must let people realize that he has other redeeming features beyond his tongue. He has to show that he can lead and lead properly. He has to reach out to aggrieved persons within his party. Because if he does not do that, this matter will go on. And some people who remain unreconciled will probably even leave the party for him, which is a terrible scenario. So he has to show leadership at this point, reach out to those people, run the party properly from the secretariat of the party, not from his home. Because these are some of the allegations that they are making. That he prefers to run the party from his house. So he has to change. Many things about him that they are complaining about, he has to change. If there is need to make concessions in the interest of peace, so that the party will remain strong, then he has to make those concessions. The Yorubas say, Agbamangbani. Adams Oshiomhole is in his 60s. He's not young anymore, so he's an Agba. So he has to run the party properly. So this is the thing. Reach out, make peace. Chances are that some of those who want him out by all means, if he shows humility, if he stoops to conquer, and he successfully reconciles aggrieved persons, working with Baba Konde and others, the same people who are saying today that he has to be crucified, they may eventually become his best friends.
All right.
So that's what we want to see.
Okay. Let me compare notes now, BKO, with my other guests now in the studio here. Beginning with you, Emeka. So the judge said, the justice of the Court of Appeal said what he said. Now parties should, do internal mechanisms now, should enforce these mechanisms to settle disputes. But in this case, with its plots, with the twists, could it indeed have been settled in-house?
I don't, the Adams Oshiomhole that was shown some minutes ago is a marked difference from the Adams Oshiomhole who had a chip on his shoulders, who was so arrogant and was just simply unnecessarily arrogant. But he has been humbled, and his presidency has been severely damaged. The moral credibility of his presidency has been brought into question. That you cannot lead, you cannot even mobilize the people, you cannot command followership. As a natural leader, you had to go to the court. You had to depend on the president. You had to run up and down, running up and down. After you had set the forest on fire, you had enough opportunity to control yourself. You had enough opportunity to put your ego in check and lead this party. This is a serious business. Politics is serious business. And I'm not happy with the intervention of the court, because what it means is that the court is now assuming a superior position to the will of the people, expressed in Oshiomhole's word. The people have a right. Forget about what people have been saying here and there. The people have a right. They are members of the party. That's why they are called party faithful. In the, under the sun, in the rain, these people are there, running up and down, campaigning, doing their best to make sure the party remains supreme. But what do you find? A national chairman who doesn't even command respect in his word. Then he wants to command respect at the national level. How does that happen? Politics is by persuasion. It's by concession. You have to be able to naturally lead the people. You have to be able to mobilize support. You have to be able to put your options on the table and then allow other options to be set on the table. But what are you doing? When people counter you, when people criticize you, you go on the offensive. How can you lead that way? And then now, what has happened? It's just a temporary victory. Because the court has only vacated what the FCT High Court, the verdict of the FCT High Court. But the will of the people of that ward, as expressed in the suspension of Adams Oshiomhole, must be respected.
Unless they choose now to settle it in-house, or
and then they lift the suspension. Because that's why I said the moral credibility. It doesn't matter what the court does, because the court is not supposed to show politicians how
to run the political party.
Indeed, and of course, you know, the matters also were also subtly dropped today when Mr. Oshomole, you know, was, you know, speaking at the NWC meeting today, where he said, you know, the party will bounce back. The party is bigger than this. The party has one major target, and that is to deal with opposition outside the party.
No, please.
Let me take up Wale Adeoye on this issue now. All that has happened in the past, let me put it in the past, and now looking at, you know, the first time he will address the party post-crisis, quote and unquote, today. What do you make of all that, and how much good or repairs we can get from there?
It is sort of the judgment of the Court of Appeal and the judgment of the lower courts, you know, the remover and counter-remover. I think we should not live under the illusion that the crisis in APC has been resolved. We have to understand the factors that gave rise to the crisis in the first place. And for me, I see two elements. The first one is 2023. People have started that race, even when the whistle is yet to be blown. And the people with this kind of rabid ambition, there is no way you can curtail them. Then we have the political bloc in the South-South, who feel that Oshomole's wings must be cut to size. And that battle is led by a former governor from Rivers State, who feels that this dominion belongs to me, and I don't want any other dominion to contend with me. Then we have the smaller faction in Edo State, you know, the quest for 2023, and Obaseki wants to. So these three blocks have, you know.
So that is even closer. In the Edo example is even closer than 2023.
So these three blocks have realigned, even though they have different reasons, but they have ganged up to ensure that they want to remove Oshomole. And I think why this thing has been sustained, you know, the party is just 7 years old. You know, if you look at what happened in the past, it was the same crisis that led to that faction in the faction in APC in 2000 that began in 2016, leading to the exit of Sharaki and Co. It was all about 2019. So we are having the same problem now. Why this problem has been sustained? Just three basic things. The lack of moral authority on the part of the leadership of the party. You could see that when the president came in and called on them, everybody, you know, fell in line. So the president could have done this long time ago and said, look, any meeting, any debate about 2023, any gathering, I'm banning it. Let us focus on governance. And then you see that all of them will obey him. But they allowed this thing to just, you know, drag on and on and on. Then the second one is the party structure itself. The party has not been able to build democratic principles. How many times has, not even APC alone, how many times have they organized seminars, workshops, training people on constitutional procedures, on party building, you know, and how to even to entrench the party as a party that's owned by the people. The third one is ownership. The political parties are not owned by the people. They are owned by big men who fund the party. So the people are not stakeholders. Unlike in the past that UPN, even MPN, people will contribute money. You put 2 naira, you put 3 naira. So any decision that is being taken, you are a stakeholder. But here somebody comes from nowhere, he puts down about 10 billion or 100 million. So he decides all the political office holders who are not representing the interests of the people. So as far as these contradictions continue in that party, it's just a kind of, you know, we are just postponing the doomsday. APC will still have bigger crisis unless they look at the root cause of the problem.
Fantastic. But then let me get BKO's take in all of this. Deep issues that have been, you know, that have been revealed. And does it seem to you, or do they seem to you that these issues will be resolved? We can take the 2020 issue now as an example now. If indeed the chairman of the party has, you know, eaten humble pie, talking about Mr. Adams Oshomole, would he be able now to, you know, bring sanity to the whole rat race, as the national leader Asiwaju, you know, pointed out?
The governors who have risen up against the party, the governors who have made up their minds that Oshomole has to go, they are not doing it in the overall interest of the party. They are doing it to save one of their own. And that's the governor of Edo State. The governors who are gathering signatures today that Oshomole should go, it is because they feel that with Oshomole as chairman, Obaseki, one of their own, will not get the ticket because INEC said some time ago that it is the national chairman that will present the candidate for election. And they know that the way Oshomole and Obaseki and Philip Shaibu have been abusing themselves and fighting themselves like lions and hyena fighting over kill in the forest, that the matter will not be resolved. There is no sign that the Edo issue will be resolved anytime soon. In fact, I heard one of them saying that it is more expensive to seek peace on this matter. So they would rather want the matter to continue. So Oshomole has a role to play in this, a big role to play in this. In the interest of the party, he can decide that, oh, as the leader, I want to make certain concessions. Without preempting what Baba Konde and co. will do, I expect that the leaders in the APC will see today that the biggest crisis facing the party is the conflict between Oshomole and his boy, Obaseki. Once they are able to solve that problem conclusively, other issues can be addressed and closure will be found to other issues. That is the number one problem for now. That's the number one problem. And those governors don't want to see us, Obaseki, not being given a ticket. Obaseki has made a career now out of abusing Oshomole at every opportunity. There is no way Oshomole will be excited to support him. So they know that there is fire on the mountain. So that's why they would rather want Oshomole removed, so that a new person who comes in will be a new broom, and that person will leave Obaseki alone. This is the truth that I'm saying is the truth. Once you are able to solve that problem, the biggest problem facing the APC currently has been defeated. They can then address other smaller issues. That is the biggest problem today facing the party.
And let me get your final take on this now before we move on. Looking at this, if we narrow it down to the tussle now, or so to speak now, between the national chairman and the Edo state government, and you also raised a valid point that the election, Edo election is even here. It's upon us, so to speak, it's months away. So people have said, let the party, speak with a louder voice, or let the president, also intervene more than he had done in the past. Do you think this would also nip this in the bud, and the party can now indeed face a common enemy, that is the opposition?
You see, Nigerians, do we want democracy or do we want authoritarianism? Do we want democracy where the grassroots, where the people at the grassroots are allowed to have their say? Or do we want one strong man who just dictates to people? We're talking of the president intervening, but this is a structure, an organization, a political party that has a national chairman, he has a NEC, he has an NWC, he has organs at the federal, at the state, at the local government levels, at the ward levels. There are structures everywhere, and these structures, if these structures perform in the way that the party constitution says, spells out, you will not have this kind of crisis. Oshomole had been told again and again, you are belittling the office of national chairman with your rift, your rift with Obaseki.
Okay.
Leave Obaseki alone. The man, if the people of Edo State don't want Obaseki, let them decide at the primaries. Let them decide at the polls.
All right, Emeka, that said, let's move on with this report on a new approach, new momentum, and new strategies that have all been suggested as required to win the war against insurgency in Nigeria's northeast. Borno State, which is at the epicenter of the Boko Haram-led terrorism, is working in this regard, with Governor Babagana Zulum inviting retired military generals and senior officers from the police, the Department of State Service, and other paramilitary organizations from the state for strategic partnership to end the insurgency And this invitation is in response to comments by a retired brigadier general from the state that they are ready to offer strategies that could help government in the fight against Boko Haram. Wale, what do you make of this? Is this the recipe, the missing, link in this whole recipe to end insurgency?
I think, let me say that I'm impressed by the enthusiasm of Baba Gana Zulum, and if you look at his background, it's not surprising. This is somebody from an extremely poor background. He was a taxi driver for 16 years. So he's a street person, and eventually he became a professor. And if you look at the margin of his victory, he had 1,175,000 votes. His opponent had 60,000 plus. You could imagine the popularity. So he has been trying to build on this popularity to come out with a lot of populist programs. He did not only meet with the retired military men and policemen, he also met with people of Borno State origin who are in the civil service. So, and I think security is about inclusion. You need to involve all the stakeholders. Let me also add that inviting the generals, they will give him a lot of advice. They will share their experiences with him, but then it also has its own repercussion. Don't forget that in 2012, Major General Shuaib Mohammed was killed right in his bedroom in Borno, and up to now, I don't know what has happened about those who murdered him, except that we knew it was carried out by Boko Haram. He was the commander of 1st Division and one of the best officers Nigeria ever produced, and he's from Borno State. So they kill him, and I can tell you that in Borno State, many retired soldiers they have relocated to Abuja because of fear of Boko Haram. So getting their expertise, their advice is a very good thing, but he must also devise a means that will protect those soldiers individually, those generals, so that there's not going to be a kind of backlash from Boko Haram.
BK, what do you make of this caveat from Wale Adeoye here? As good as this new strategy may seem, now there is also a concern that this former generals or former personnel may be exposed to danger.
Well, the way Boko Haram used to kill VIPs, I think that has stopped now, because in those days, Boko Haram members were so many in Maiduguri. So if we even gossiped about them, they could just go to your house and fish you out. At the time when General Shua was killed, the civilian JTF had not taken control of Maiduguri metropolis. The civilian JTF expelled Boko Haram men from Maiduguri metropolis, and Maiduguri became a lot safer because they knew them. They grew up with these guys. They knew their houses. So they went after them one after another. That's why with the fortification, with the military fortification of Maiduguri, Maiduguri is a lot safer now. In those days, even the people building the palace of the Shehu of Borno, Boko Haram came and slaughtered all of them. Boko Haram was slaughtering even district heads and Islamic clerics. Anybody who preached against them, they will come for you. That in those days, there were so many in the Maiduguri metropolis, but they've been chased into the bush. So these days, the possibility of coming into the heart of the city to kill VIPs is almost, that possibility is almost non-existent, and it has not really happened for years. So, but wherever the generals are, whether they are based in Maiduguri or anywhere, they don't have to be even physically present to provide strategy to suggest strategies that can be adopted to defeat the enemy. And occasionally, they can have a security summit where suggestions will be made about how the enemy can be defeated. You can bring them, the governor can arrange that, bring these generals together, maybe once or twice a year. They can then put heads together. There are many generals who had served in that region before, who are not necessarily even from Borno State, who have knowledge of the terrain, who can also offer support. People like General Hanotu, General Hanotu was the one who arrested the founder of Boko Haram and then handed him over to policemen who then irresponsibly decided to kill him and put us in the mess that we are today. So what I'm saying, that people like General Hanotu can actually be invited and it can be of help. But they don't have to be physically present in Maiduguri to provide strategic, tactical notes that will make us defeat the enemy.
Right. And even looking at the kind of goodwill that the Governor Zulum, has been earning, just, recently the Southeastern Traders Association were also, expressing their delight, even going as far as praying for him in public, and, offering their assistance in any way. So this issue of, restricting it to just indigenes of Borno State, do you also think this should be expanded? Because Easterners and very many other people, in spite of all the havoc that the terrorists have wreaked in that area, there are still people who are not battered by it all, or even though they've been battered, they still want to, give their own cooperation to the government to fight the enemy.
Our politics is local. Charity, they say, begins at home. So he has to, the governor is not just looking at security. He's also looking at restoration. How to restore the people, how to restore the state, how to restore order, how to make the state conducive to the people and to, people are also who come into the state to do business. So it's not just about the military side or the security side. It's also about, restoring the society, giving the people confidence to return. People who have fled the state, like the generals who have relocated to Abuja, to have the confidence to come back, and also helping the federal government to accelerate this total destruction of Boko Haram. I think this governor has shown a clear understanding of what the problems are in the state, whether it's security, whether it's civil, in whatever area, economic or whatever. He has shown a clear understanding. And he has demonstrated a lot of emotional intelligence, which is that he's been able to, use the right words. He's been able to win the confidence of the people. He's been able to throw the right words at the right time to make sure that the people believe in the government. Because if the people don't buy into the policies of government, if there's no buy-in to the actions of government, you will find out that government will be doing it all it can, but there will be a disconnect. It will be as if it's just blowing into the air. But so far, Governor Zulum has been able to make the right connection, and I wish him all the best. Indeed, kudos now to Governor Zulum now, and of course, best wishes as he continues to steer the ship, with the Borno ship now. Gentlemen, I can't thank you enough for your wonderful insights on the program. Wale Adeoye, Emeka Madunago, and last but certainly not the least, Babajide Kolade Otitoju, who, despite the distance barriers, also, dished out very, very relevant insights now on all the topics discussed today. Thanks to you, BKO. Johnny Mercies, back to Lagos. Indeed, that's all we have on our 7 today on today's edition of Journalist Hangout. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. In the meantime, you can watch Journalist Hangout on other platforms showing on the screen on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. Well, thanks a lot for watching. I'm Kemi Foladeyemo. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.